Can you believe it? Talk about truth being stranger than fiction. The person who tells us his YouTube handle immune to BS means immune to bad science has now become the poster boy for bad science. Not on purpose, of course, but wait until you see what he did to earn that title. Hello everybody, Steiner here. Welcome to Controversy Central, where we take on controversies that really matter. In my previous video, called Flat Earth Deception 101, to which you can find a link below, I showed clips of the well-known flat earther Adam Carter telling us that the only real difference between the azimuthal equidistant flat earth model that he proposes and the globe model is that one has curvature and the other doesn't.
If the circular map and the globe show the same thing, the only difference is that one of them has a curved surface and the other is flat. The circular maps are not that much different from the globe, except that one of them is flat and the other is spherical.
Of course, he was completely wrong and deliberately misleading. In fact, he made this absurd claim while acknowledging elsewhere in that same video that the flat Earth has a surface area that is 2.5 times that of the globe.
If we take any of the circular maps with the North Pole at the middle, the world is essentially a disk with a diameter of about 25,000 miles and given an approximate surface area of about 490,000 square miles. Yes, the surface area is about 2.5 times that of the globe, but the extra is mostly oceans and ice.
You don't need a map, but it's a nice thing to have.
So we now all got to hear Adam Carter intentionally downplaying the enormous amount of extra surface area on the flat Earth model. He did that to make it possible for him to pull off his elaborately conceived proposal regarding the flat Earth model, a false concept that I fully exposed in the video I referenced earlier. Well, now the effort to deceive takes a strange turn, going in the completely opposite direction. We have this other flat earther immune to BS who tells us his icon means immune to bad science, going down the same path of deliberate deception. But instead of trying to downplay, as Adam Carter did, the hundreds of millions of square miles extra that Carter acknowledged exists on a flat Earth model, he audaciously claims that the flat Earth model is missing a large portion of surface area in the far south. He wants us to believe that cartographers used the azimuthal equidistant flat Earth model to create the globe model. And he also wants us to believe that, because of a missing 15 degrees of latitude in the far south, the AE model of the flat Earth needed to be stretched out to generate enough surface area to create the globe model. Let's hear him explain.
So, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that when somebody decided to create a globe out of the flat Earth, they did not have two equal halves to make into a sphere. So they had to elongate and stretch and do everything else to make it work. Because there's a 15 degree difference or missing of latitude.
Of course, this revelation is so contrary to all known evidence and even to arguments made by other flat earthers like Adam Carter that he needed to concoct a very convincing story to be able to present his revelation as fact. And from the amazingly positive reception by other flat earthers that can be seen in the comment section below his video, he was able to do just that. So let's go back to the beginning of his video to see how that was accomplished.
So what I did is I decided to highlight those on the map just to get a better visual, because some of the lines are not as dark as they are. I want to know exactly where the equator is in the Tropic of Cancer and so forth. Starting from the center, we can start by circling the 75 degree line and followed by the 60 degree line. Next comes the 45 degree line, and then the 30-degree line. Notice these are in 15-degree increments. Then we got the 15-degree, which is the Tropic of Cancer.
Now I'll have to interrupt to point out something here. If you recall, right near the start of this clip, Immune to Bad Science said the following.
I decided to highlight those on the map just to get a better visual, because some of the lines are not as dark as they are. I want to know exactly where the equator is and the Tropic of Cancer and so forth.
So he claims that his main purpose for overlaying those thick circles on his map is to be able to see exactly where the Tropic of Cancer, the equator, and the Tropic of Capricorn are situated on that map. Apparently, because of the fact that the lines on his map are quite faint, he felt that he could make up for that poor quality by doing this. Unfortunately, his efforts did not make up for the extreme sloppiness of his own scientific rigor, since he chooses to identify the wrong parallel of latitude as being the Tropic of Cancer. For the record, the Tropic of Cancer is actually at approximately 23.5 degrees north. And I immediately interrupted the presentation at the point where we were being told it was 15 degrees north. It's hard for me to think of anyone being as careless as this when attempting to present a case for others to evaluate, unless they were being deliberately deceptive. Now let's continue.
And then comes the equator, which is a 0-degree line.
Well, at least he got the equator correct. Somewhat. For future reference, it is important to note that his thick line representing the equator is still not precisely placed. The lower portion has crept south of the actual line on the map. So, for his stated intended purpose, he would have been better off just sticking with the original. But what about the Tropic of Capricorn?
And now we head south. So now we have 15 degrees south, which is the Tropic of Capricorn.
Now the same blatant error, only this time concerning the Tropic of Capricorn, which is at approximately 23.5 degrees south rather than the 15 degrees south that we were just told. So now let's hear some more.
Then 30 degrees south. And then 45 degrees south. And then we have the 60 degrees south. Whoa, wait a minute here. What happened to the 75 degrees south?
Well, Mr. Knee-Deep in Bad Science, since you asked, I will be more than happy to show you. Here, in my view, is what happened to 75 degrees south. And unless you can present a better explanation, I can see no reason to think otherwise. The first thing to note is that 75 degrees south is exactly where we expect it to be. To make this clear to everybody, I have taken the liberty to enlarge this portion of your map to make it easier for everybody to be able to see the fudging of your added circles and the still existing 75 degrees south that you were having such a hard time finding. I have now also set it side by side with a much clearer copy of the same map to make this even easier to see. I am guessing that your scientific budget did not allow you the luxury of using a map of such high quality in your production. Or could it be that you deliberately chose the least clearly defined copy you could find? The fact is that you seem to have done everything in your power to both divert our attention and obscure the latitudinal line of 75 degrees south. It must have been extreme desperation that brought you to come to the point where you inadvertently set yourself up as the poster boy for bad science. So let's take a moment to dissect the extraordinarily unscientific method that you used for making your unique discovery concerning the actual shape of the Earth. A careful inspection of your Gleason's map indicates that you took deliberate steps to fabricate a deception. First, you placed unnecessary white strips across the top and bottom of your Gleason's map. Then you came up with a reasonable sounding excuse for creating your thick circular lines. By the time you created the thick line that you said marked 60 degrees south, you actually fudged it to place it a ways south of the 60 degree circle. Immediately after you had made a thick circle at what you called the latitude line of 60 degrees south, you needed to introduce a distraction to draw our minds away from the actual map. So you introduced a screeching sound effect into your video. Let's now listen to the unique revelation you presented at this point that was designed to both keep people's minds from the details of the map itself and establish a new understanding regarding the shape of the Earth.
So, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that when somebody decided to create a globe out of the flat Earth, they did not have two equal halves to make into a sphere. So they had to elongate and stretch and do everything else to make it work. Because there's a 15-degree difference or missing of latitude. So in order to make it a perfect sphere or ball, they had to stretch things out. That's why everything looks distorted. And from what I can tell, and this one was just conjecture on my part, but from what I can tell, it looks like they started from the top, from the North Pole area, and everything got stretched incrementally as it went down, all the way down to the quote-unquote South Pole. Now, everything about this map makes complete sense in our world.
So you had wanted to create the impression that a brilliant idea entered your mind at that point, and that you had, at that instant, serendipitously discovered something that would reveal an important part of the deceptive practices of those who are deliberately hiding the shape of the Earth from us. The rest is history. You appear to have been convinced that your subs are an extraordinarily gullible bunch, so you simply told them what you wanted them to believe and expected them to not notice that you were contradicting the very evidence that you had placed right in front of their very eyes. In case anyone doubts what I am saying, I will show you a copy of the very same map without the deliberately placed obstructions that Mr. Epitome of Bad Science used as props for his deception. This first image is of the entire Gleason's map. This next image is a close-up of the lines of latitude marked off in 15-degree increments, just as Mr. Epitome of Bad Science had noted in the clip I played earlier. The only difference is that here the writing on the map is clear, and it shows that not only does the map contain 75 degrees south, but it also goes all the way to 90 degrees south. In light of his bungled attempt at flagrant deception regarding the shape of the Earth, the one who calls himself immune to bad science should isolate himself from himself, so as to not trigger an autoimmune response to the extremely bad science he is harboring in his own thoughts. He should also isolate those thoughts from the rest of the world, so as to not infect anyone else with his severe case of bad science. So now, Mr. Epitome of Bad Science, we got to watch as you developed a new scientific theory regarding the actual shapes of the continents and oceans based on a deliberate misreading of the Gleason's map. All of your smoke and mirrors tactics appear to have been designed to set the stage for you to unveil your bizarre stretching of the Southern Hemisphere theory. Maybe I've pegged you completely wrong in thinking of you as a liar and deceiver. You may merely be someone whose bumblings exceed the norm by many orders of magnitude. If that is the case, I hope you can find it in you to acknowledge your lack of understanding concerning anything that has to do with scientific inquiry. Should you assert that the project you presented in this video is merely a display of your ineptitude and not a deliberate deception, I would be happy to accept your admission at face value. That is, unless or until that becomes an untenable position to hold in light of other facts that may arise. Having said all that, I do find it interesting that hundreds of flat earthers have given your video a thumbs up without any hesitation. and at least one of them was so impressed by it that he has even asked your permission to mirror it. I highly recommend that any and all flat earthers, as well as anybody else for that matter, take this as a powerful object lesson in the ease with which people can be misled by taking at face value anything that a flat earther offers up as evidence that the earth is not a globe. If you want evidence that this is not just a one-off, check out the link below to my previous video, Flat Earth Smarts Deception 101. As well, you could do what I recommend to everyone, which is to click on the subscribe button below and then the notification bell to be notified of my upcoming videos. I have much more unique information to bring to you. And until then, thanks for watching.